We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is going on, everybody? Happy New Year indeed. For those watching on YouTube, you can see the newest edition of the room. Still have to fix some things up, but Santa came, got the kiddos a drum set, so pretty exciting times, pretty exciting stuff out there. But yeah, it's been about a week since we've talked Chicago Bears, so don't worry, we're going to have a lot of stuff that we're going to be going through today, but it's not going to be our normal preview show because of what's going on with the Chicago Bears this week. You know, if we preview this game like a normal game, there's not much for us to talk about. It's the Bears versus the Packers. So really what we're going to be talking about today is more so along the lines of what to actually watch out for when we are watching this Bears game. Because we can probably assume that the Packers are going to win this game. They're probably going to come out and try to absolutely stomp us and embarrass us. So at least with this, is there anything that we can take away? Any players that we should be kind of watching? Kind of going back to the preseason days of how can we make this game watchable? So let's get into everything and let's talk a little bit about the injuries first. So from an injury perspective, we're seeing Larry Borom out with an illness. Same thing with Rome Odunze. Not sure what the illness is. Are they hungover? Since this is New Year's Day, maybe something like that's going on. But also too, Tevin Jenkins did not participate with a calf injury. I mean, right now, I would be shocked if he ends up playing at that left guard spot on Sunday. And then also too, Travis Homer did not participate and Elijah Hicks did not participate. Yet again, Homer being more of a veteran, probably not much to show out there on tape. And Elijah Hicks, yeah, like just rest. It's the last week, so nothing really to show with some of this. But big thing, Larry Borom to me is going to be the big one to watch out for, because Larry Borom, you do see the giant drop off. Like, not great, but he's better than what we've seen out of Amagaji and other offensive tackles like that. So what we're probably going to be seeing trot out there is something similar to what we had last time that we played against the Seattle Seahawks, where Larry Borom's probably going to be that left tackle and Jake Curran probably that left guard. Now, these players have not been good, both having sub 50 grades according to PFF from an offensive line perspective, but also our eyes see this as well, where they just have not been blocking well. We saw this with the Seahawks game, just was not a pretty sight to see. But now let's go over to the preview. And this is the biggest thing to preview. This is the biggest thing to watch out for. And that is the NFL draft order. Because right now the Bears sit at number 9 overall. And what's crazy is that if the Bears won only 4 games last season, they would have the number 5 spot pretty much locked up. They'd be drafting 5. But right now, number 5 is pretty much the best spot that they can draft. I think that there might be a way that they can sneak up to number 4 if the Giants win and then some of the teams that the Bears played ended up losing, so their strength of schedule drops. But chances are, just what you need to know, chances are that number 5 spot is probably going to be the highest that they can actually go to. Now, who are in front of them? So the biggest thing is we need to be rooting for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Carolina Panthers, Jets, and the Raiders to win their games. And also, like we said, Giants, just because Jacksonville, Carolina, Jets, and Vegas all are tied with 4 wins. And the reason why we're at the very back and the very bottom of everything, we have one of the hardest strength of schedules this year because of playing in the NFC North and everybody being so great from the NFC North perspective. That's what kind of drags down the Bears in this ranking. Normally, we've always had one of the easiest strength of schedules, with the hardest strength, one of the hardest strengths of schedules really does hinder the Bears with their draft position. So we got to be rooting these people on. And I know if some people bring up the Carolina, well, don't we want Carolina to lose so that we have a better second round pick? Give me the better first round pick than the second round pick. I'm more than happy with that. Also, it affects all the rest of your draft stock as well. So your first, your second, your third, your fourth, everything else besides just the Carolina pick. So to me, all those teams can win. But now let's actually talk a little bit more about the game. So like I said before, I really want to take a different angle rather than what are the Bears going to try to do. I want to talk about what are the things to really look at from this team. Now, first and foremost, on this Bears offense, the number one thing that I'm looking out for is to see Caleb, obviously. Does Caleb show anything? To me, this is really what we've always seen with Caleb. There's going to be good, there's going to be bad. That's just the Caleb Williams experience in his rookie season. But the big connection I'm going to be looking out for is Keenan Allen, because this could be Keenan Allen's final game as a Chicago Bear because, hey, he's a veteran. He's a solid slot receiver in the NFL, but he's up there in age. Now, if he's asking for Keenan Allen type money, the Bears should not be re-signing him. I think when you think about a third wide receiver, it's more of a luxury. It's nice to have, but to me, give me a better offensive line. Give me a better defensive line rather than that third wide receiver. Ideally, Odunze and Moore should be the number one and number two. And yeah, you usually have your slot receiver, but if you're paying them $20 million, I'd rather spend $20 million on, say, Ryan Kelly or the center from the Atlanta Falcons, right? Some of these other offensive linemen that can really come in and make a change to the way that this offensive line, like a Trey Smith, how this can really transform your overall offensive line. So Keenan Allen is someone I'm looking out for because how does Caleb and him interact in the final game of the season? Now we've seen this chemistry get better and better and better, but it's still nothing to write home about. Otherwise, we'd be winning some games. So that is the big thing that I'm watching out for, is that slot receiver matchup. But next, the other piece that I'm looking out for is the rest of the healthy offensive linemen, particularly Coleman Shelton. Because Coleman Shelton has a 1-year deal. He's not going to be on this team, hopefully, next season. But here's the biggest thing, is that if Ryan Poles is going to be the GM of the Chicago Bears, which a lot of signs, which I'll talk at a different episode about, a lot of signs are pointing that he's going to be here next season. Coleman Shelton has not been great. He hasn't been horrific. He's not been Lucas Patrick, but he's just been Coleman Shelton. Like we've said, in my opinion, Coleman Shelton is a below average starting center in this league. He's not above average. He's not, that line, that Charles Leno line that we've talked about where you can get better, you can get worse. There's a lot more people that you can get better from than Coleman Shelton. So yeah, I'm just seeing how does he play? How does Pryor play? Because I don't mind the idea of bringing Pryor back with the intent of him being a backup offensive lineman, being a backup guard, because he's giving you better than average play. PFF grades, they're not everything, but he's the 24th highest graded guard in the NFL. And when you watch him play, he's not been great. He's not been awful. But as a backup, that's what he was hired to do. That's what he was signed to do. But he's been your starter because Nate Davis just simply was MIA this entire season until we released him. And then last but not least, just Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright has had a good season, and he's taken a step forward. Now he's not this elite right tackle that you can build around. He's not Penei Sewell or anything like that. But hey, he's not awful. He's not awful. He's someone that you can definitely pick out other spots on this offensive line to then grow this line overall. But other than that, this offense, not looking for too much else. We know what we're getting with DeAndre Swift. The only other person I'm looking out for is like a Tyler Scott. I would like to see Scott get, a handful of snaps out there. Maybe they throw in a Colin Johnson. Maybe they don't put DJ Moore out there as much. But that's why I kind of want to see a little bit of Scott, right? Throw him out there just to see how he plays, because he was a healthy scratch for so long. And yet again, I've said he's a running back that's playing wide receiver. He's a deep ball threat, but I just want to see him out there. It's the last week. What do you have to lose? Because we've been losing 10 straight. So really, that is the offensive preview, because there's really nothing that, like I said, not our typical break down every position, break down what exactly needs to happen, because if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. Because this is at Green Bay after all. So my guess, going to probably be a little bit crazy, a little bit crazy out there. But the only other thing, actually the only game plan piece that I'm just going to call out, because I saw a graphic and I wish I would have grabbed this for the YouTube watchers just to see this graphic. But PFF actually posted, I think it was PFF Moo out there on Twitter, posted a graphic talking about the Bears, just offensive linemen, win rates, and also how many times have they had help from a running back or a tight end. And this is something that we've talked about on this show when we do tape reviews and even post-tape reviews, that the Bears are not helping their offensive tackles. They're not giving them tight ends to help them. And when you look at the graphic, you see that the Bears tackles are you're close to the league leaders next to like the Philadelphia Eagles, tackles in not getting any help. So this scheme, this system is not really helping your tackles as well. Now, our tackles in that rating system, just in case if you're curious, we're above average. Like we've said, we have above average, like that epitome of average play out of Braxton Jones. You can get better from that. But the big thing, just the offensive system, the offensive scheme is not helping your left tackle, not helping your right tackle. Even when we see like a Larry Borum out there, we're just not seeing them help with your tight end, with just an additional blocker out there. And when your tight ends do block, it's two tight ends blocking one defensive end, not necessarily helping your left tackle, helping your right tackle. So I just wanted to call that out because you see a Rashawn Gary going against a Larry Borum, that's a mismatch. Yet again, we talk about the importance of coaching. Bears, for some reason, don't believe in having a tight end just simply chip or help that left tackle. And like we've also said on this show countless times, if you just simply have somebody chip someone against Braxton Jones, that at least gets them off of their, bull rush, which Braxton has been prone to in his career. So that's all the stuff that we're going to talk about with that. But that's enough game plan talk from the offensive standpoint. Let's flip over to the defense and talk a little bit about who we're watching out for with this. And there's two people that I think are the number one and 1A, 1B to be watching out for. And this is the outside corner competition with Stevenson and Terrell Smith. And quite frankly, I wouldn't even mind if Jalen Johnson wasn't out there. Put Stevenson, you put Smith out there because do the Bears need another cornerback next season? Because we've talked about this where, hey, we felt going into the season that our cornerback position was pretty deep. And truth be told, it actually is kind of. You have Terrell Smith, who has been a good player when he has been out there. And then you have Tyreek Stevenson, the fire rod, the firecracker, where something good's going to happen, something bad's going to happen. And quite frankly, we've had more bad than good when it comes down to Tyreek Stevenson. So that's why I want to see them out there a little bit more. Because is this an actual problem? Now, one game isn't going to solve all your problems or do anything like that. But it's at least good to see, okay, end of the season, what is everybody looking like? What is the last taste in your mouth when you're watching these guys play? And quite frankly, Terrell Smith should be the starter. I think you're seeing that time in and time out. He's not this game wrecker. He's not this game wrecker in a good sense and in a bad sense. And that you're fine with that. You have Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. So to me, I'm fine with having Terrell Smith out there because when he's been out there, he's not been bad. He's not been bad at all. And that's what's kind of frustrating is put him out there, have him start, have him play. Because when he's been out there, he's been good. I don't have his exact PFF grade, but I remember seeing that's good. And when we watched the tape, he's been good. So, and when Tyreek Stevenson's out there, the other teams target him. It's just, you got to read it. You got to read it, right? Like that's what seemingly is going on. So those cornerbacks are the people that I'm watching out for. But the other group that I'm watching out for is the defensive ends. We have a lot of people on one-year deals like Jacob Martin. And also we have Darrell Taylor, the person that had 2 sacks week 1. And we're all like, holy crap, this is unbelievable. We traded a draft pick. This is great. This is amazing. And both of them have their contracts ending this season. So what are they going to do? How are they going to look? Now, probably we're not going to see either one be a Chicago Bear moving forward because, hey, Taylor, after that 1 week, really hasn't done anything. So to me, I just want to keep an eye out on them just because we're probably not going to re-sign them. If they do something great, if they do something big, they're going to be playing for themselves, especially. So they might be making a couple big plays out there to say, hey, sign someone else. Sign me on a 1-year deal. I'm good. I'm good at football, right? But the other group that I'm looking at is just Tremaine Edmunds. Tremaine Edmunds, you can get out of his deal next season. Now, we'll have a separate show talking about the salary cap and breaking all that down. But Tremaine Edmunds, depending on who the defensive coordinator is, might love him or might say, guys, if we can cut bait and we can get rid of him, I could bring in some other players, some other people at more discounted prices at this linebacker position that can give us better play than what Tremaine Edmunds has been giving us. And why am I picking on Tremaine Edmunds? Is this is your $18, $19 million a year guy compared to TJ Edwards, which is all the way down into what, 8? Less than half that. And he's giving you practically the same, if not better, play than your big ticket guy. So those are the people that I'm watching out for on the defensive side. Nothing about Montez, nothing about Jervon. We already know the story, right? It's the same old, same old. Jervon has been really good this season. He's really kind of had a breakout season. And Montez Sweat just has looked banged up this season. So now with the special teams, anything that we're looking out for, I'm looking out for Blackwell. Blackwell has looked good as a punt returner. I want to see more about that. And Torrey Taylor, it's just same old every week. He's not this amazing punter. He's not this godlike punter that, I think a lot of us were hoping that he could be with that fourth round pick that we used to get him. And also, I want to see, hey, are we going to be kicking field goals that are, past 50 yards? Because that was the big story with the Seattle game. Most kickers could have made that kick to tie the game. But with Santos, we weren't able to. We were afraid to make that kick. And, we ended up losing the game, as we all know. And that's where that game was just such a bad game, such a gross game, as we say out here. But that is about it from the special teams. And when we talk about the edges, it's easy to just say the Packers have the edge everywhere. We've been talking about all the other games, coming up to this. We do not have an edge on offense. We do not have an edge on defense. It's just the way of it. Also, they have the home field advantage. It's not going to be a pretty game. So if you're watching out there on YouTube, let me know your predictions, your bold predictions, your score predictions down below, because this could be a bad game. This could be a really bad game. But here's the thing. Knowing the Chicago Bears, maybe they win just to crush our spirits in hoping for a higher draft pick. But hey, if they do that, the worst that they can do is push us all the way back to number 10, because the New Orleans Saints have the number 10 pick currently. The Bears, if they lose, we would then kind of get pushed back down to that number 10 pick as long as New Orleans would lose and the Bears would win. So not the worst thing in the world, but it always seems every year that the Bears have that number 9 pick underneath Ryan Poles. So it only seems fitting that the number 9 pick is going to be ours. But game predictions, the Bears have been giving up so many yards. This could be awful. I'm going to say 43. It's bad, right? 43 to 17. It could be much worse. I think that this might even be worse than the Seattle game. But yeah, so I've already told some of my friends that are Packer fans, I'm like, just come over. We'll just have a couple drinks, just relax, and you guys can watch yourselves just whoop us. Maybe I'll play a different game or something. But yeah, but that is our preview show for the Bears versus the Packers. Like we said, mostly focusing on who to watch out for. So if you're out there on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe, because we have a lot of off-season coverage that is going to be headed your way. So with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and that she